Hey there, and welcome. Today, we're diving into the gorgeous but sometimes tricky world of botanical and floral motifs in web design. You know, how do we make our websites feel lush and alive without them turning into a digital jungle that's impossible to get through? Let's get into it. So, let's just start with a really provocative question. Can a design actually be too beautiful? Is it possible for all those stunning leaves and flowers to get in the way and make a website a pain to use? This is a tension that every single designer has to grapple with. So, what is it about these designs that pulls us in so strongly? Well, it actually comes down to a really cool idea called the biophilia hypothesis. Basically, it's the theory that we humans are just hardwired to connect with nature. It's not some fleeting trend, it's a deep, fundamental part of who we are. But, and this is a big but, here's the trap. If we lean too far into that natural instinct, our beautiful website can suddenly feel like a dense, confusing jungle. The user gets lost, and all of a sudden we've sacrificed real usability for the sake of beauty.
Okay, so how do we find that balance? Welcome to what I'm calling the photosynthesis of good design. Think about it. Just like a plant turns sunlight into life-giving energy, we need to learn how to turn our raw, natural inspiration into rock-solid usability. It's all about having the right process and sticking to core principles.
You've probably heard the old design mantra, form follows function. Well, we're going to add a little modern twist to it, mostly. Because while that botanical form is what makes the design so appealing, it absolutely has to follow the fundamental rules of good design. You know, the heuristics that make a website feel intuitive and easy. These principles are the bedrock of any great user experience.
Let me put it this way. Let's say you design an incredibly intricate, beautiful button shaped like a leaf. It's a work of art. But what if users pause for just a second before they click it, unsure if it's even a button? Is that really a win? That tiny moment of hesitation, that's a red flag. It means we've made the user think too hard.
This right here, this is the core balancing act. You've got aesthetics on one side. That's the why. It's the visual appeal, the beautiful leafy bits that evoke emotion and draw people in. But on the other side, you have clarity. That's the how. It's what allows users to get things done without friction. Truly great design is where these two things meet and become one. So practically, how do we pull this off? It's all about strategic placement. You could use a subtle, low-contrast floor pattern in the background where it adds texture without distraction. Or maybe you use a single, bold illustrated branch to act as a focal point. You could even get clever and have a little vine that organically leads the user's eyes straight to a call to action button. See? That's decoration with a purpose. Okay, I want you to burn this number into your brain. 4.5 to 1. That is the absolute minimum contrast ratio for text against a background according to web accessibility guidelines. It doesn't matter how gorgeous your leafy green background is. If your users can't comfortably read the text on top of it, the design has failed, period. Readability is just not negotiable. You know, when you hear the phrase botanical design, I bet a certain image pops into your head, right? Something like this, a screen just totally covered in lush, dense, overlapping foliage. It's a really common assumption about what this style has to look like.
But what if I told you that a lot of the time, the biggest impact comes from doing the exact opposite? Sometimes the most powerful statement you can make is with extreme restraint. A single beautifully illustrated leaf sitting in a sea of clean negative space can be way more eye-catching than an entire forest. Minimalism and botanicals, they can be an absolutely stunning combination.
All right, so knowing the principles is one thing, but putting them into practice is another. Let's talk about the common mistakes people make. It's time to get practical and figure out how to avoid some of these thorny issues that can trip up even the best-intentioned designs. So check this out. This chart breaks down the biggest pitfalls. And look at the number one problem, taking up a whopping 40%. Slow load times, almost always from huge, unoptimized images. After that, you've got visual clutter, poor readability, and a lack of consistency. Let's tackle that biggest one head-on. So, how do we fix those sluggish load times? It's actually pretty straightforward. First, you have to compress your images. Second, choose modern formats like WebP. They offer great quality with smaller file sizes. Third, use something called lazy loading, which basically means images only load when the user actually scrolls to them. And finally, use responsive images so you're not sending a giant desktop-sized file to a tiny phone screen. These 4 steps are absolutely essential. And let's talk about making our designs work for everyone. If you've got low-contrast text on a busy background, an easy fix is to put the text inside a semi-transparent or opaque box.
When it comes to fonts, always choose a clear, readable typeface over a purely decorative one. For animations, respect the users who prefer reduced motion. And this one is huge. Never, ever use color alone to convey important information. All right, we have made it through the digital forest. So let's stop for a second and bundle up the key lessons. Everything you need to harvest the best of both worlds, that stunning beauty and that crystal clear usability. Here it is, your blueprint for success. Number 1, function always comes first. A beautiful design that a user can't figure out is, by definition, not a good design. 2, use your botanical elements strategically to support your content, not smother it. 3, accessibility is king. It's not an afterthought, it's a requirement. And finally, be consistent. A cohesive visual language builds trust. Nail these 4 things and you're golden. So I'll leave you with this final thought to plant in your own creative garden. What natural element truly inspires you? It can be anything, the texture of bark, the spiral of a shell, the veins on a leaf. And how might you translate the essence of that thing into a digital interface that perfectly balances function and beauty? Something to think about. Thanks so much for tuning in.